This interview is about Jesseline Smith Eggers, born on November 15th, 1930. Okay. Um, Describe your grandma's early life.
Well, Grandma she was born in 1930. She was from a town called St. Charles, Minnesota. That's where she was born. She was the oldest child of three brothers. She had three younger brothers, Merton, Jewel, and Everett. She actually grew up on a farm that was in a town between St. Charles and Plainview.
Okay.
They were middle class farmers, and farming back then was a great way of life in the 30s. It provided all that they would need. Her mom actually raised chickens and sold eggs,
Okay.
and they were actually dairy farmers. So they sold a lot of eggs, a lot of milk. They had 30 cows, and those cows had to be hand milked twice a day by hand.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah. So farming was a really hard way of life, but it was also very rewarding.
Where did your grandma go to school? What stories can you remember that she's told you?
Actually, Grandma, when she was in elementary school and in middle school, she went to school in like a little old, like church-looking little school. And it was Minnesota, so the weather was pretty bad.
Cold.
Sometimes lots of snow. She would actually have to hook up the horses to a buggy to get to school.
Oh no.
When she was in elementary and junior high, and I believe when she went to high school, they actually had buses, and she actually went to high school in St. Charles. So I'm not sure where her elementary and junior high school were located or what town,
Okay.
but did go to a bigger high school finally
Okay.
when she was older.
After high school, what did she do next? Like, where did she go? What did she study if she went to college?
Actually, Grandma didn't. She graduated high school. She
Okay.
didn't go to college. She she really, really wanted to get off the farm.
To get off the
She
farm.
did not want to be a farmer's wife. So she knew it was a hard way of life, and she did not want to be a farmer's wife. So she didn't go to college. She actually met Grandpa. He came to her farm one time when they were doing what they called they called it thrashing. It was a thrashing party during the harvest time.
Okay.
Is when she first met Grandpa, and he was 5 years older than her when they had met. And he was actually, before they met, he had been in the military. He was in the Army, and he had been stationed in Korea just after World War II had ended. So again, she couldn't wait to get off the farm. She didn't want to be a farmer's wife. However, when she met Grandpa
Was a farmer.
and his brother
They started farming.
tried to start a farm up, and they actually did that for a year, and it didn't work out.
Didn't work out.
No.
So since she didn't go to college, did she participate in any military service?
She herself did not participate in any military service. We are all kind of really surprised she didn't actually attend college,
Yeah.
because Grandma was the only left-handed family member. We don't know of any other family members that were left-handed after her or even before her. And she received numerous awards in school
For being left-handed.
for her writing, because she had beautiful writing and she was left-handed, and she was a good writer. So I'm surprised, because she didn't want that farm life, that she didn't push herself to go to college. But she really, really wanted to become a mom and be a mother, and that's what she did. She met Grandpa, and she was married when she was 18.
Wow, that's early.
Yep, and she had her first child, which is my dad.
Your dad? Wayne.
Wayne Eggers. She had him when she was 19, and then she had Aunt Barbara and Uncle David.
What?
So she had a total of 3 children.
Okay, that's good to know. What significant events did happen to her during her 30s or 20s? If you can remember anything.
I don't know of any significant thing happening in her 30s and 40s. However, Grandma lived through the Great Depression that happened in the 1930s. So she lived through the Great Depression, and in their situation, because they were farmers, they actually did probably a little better than most people
Okay.
when that happened, when the Great Depression was going on.
Okay. How many children did she have?
She had 3 children.
Okay.
She had 2 boys and a girl, and she really enjoyed being a mother and a housewife.
Do you have any stories that her children's life?
Actually, Grandpa and his brother and sister always talk about how she used to tease them all the time, and how she loved to play games. So she'd play hide the thimble with them.
Hide the thimble. That's an old game.
Yeah, and she would do puzzles with them all the time. So again, that was one of her, I think, greatest achievements, was being a mom and being a good mom.
Where did your grandma settle and make her home, and how long did she live in her new home?
They lived in Minnesota until Rochester, Minnesota is where they ended up living, and they ended up moving in 1958. They moved to Montana. Grandpa started to work in ceramic tiles and got a really good job in Montana. So we moved the family to Montana, and then in 1963 they ended up moving here to Salt Lake, and they stayed. They knew there were a lot of opportunities here in the profession that Grandpa was going into, and going into tile work. He actually, Grandma and the kids stayed in Montana for a couple of years while Grandpa traveled back to Salt Lake to work, because he was actually going to the University of Utah Hospital.
Nice. That's something. That's really cool. What advice did she have for the young today? Like, what do you think she would say to me?
I think her advice would be to push yourself, go to college, make something of yourself. Grandma was, she had a temper. She could definitely hold a grudge, and she worked here and there occasionally. She worked at an eggplant for a month, separating eggs, but hated it. Would much rather be at home with her children and doing a lot of the housework.
She
decided
yeah.
that, being a housewife was enough work.
Was enough work,
She didn't have to actually go to work and do work. She kind of went to work just to maybe socialize a little bit. When she actually came here in Salt Lake, fun thing, when I was in elementary school, and I was really close to my grandma, I was going through the lunch line at school, and I saw her in the cafeteria.
In the cafeteria.
And she was working the lunch line.
She was working the lunch line. That's crazy.
I was so excited that I ran back in there and gave her a big hug. She only was there for 2 weeks, but it was fun. She was fun. She was a really fun grandma.
Yeah.
And you remember, she was a very fun great grandma.
I loved her.
Yeah. She was a really fun lady. She loved to tease. She loved to swing you. She loved to play games. And,
She was fun. Okay, well that'll be it for today. Thank you, Mom.
You're welcome.